We just had our first big snow up here in northern Indiana, so I'm on the hunt for something warming and comforting to eat while watching the icicles accumulate on my deck. A stew sounds great, especially a spicy one, but often what makes dishes like that just so comforting are the inherent carbohydrates and thickeners. Chili generally fits the bill for what I'm looking for, but I'm afraid without the corn and the beans, it's just gonna fall a little flat in that comfort food department for me personally. But how about a Louisiana gumbo? Now, it's inherently American, it's hearty, and it has a little kick. Not to mention that there's a surf and turf aspect that feels just a little bit fancy. Now, in following a standard gumbo recipe, the traditional one, any adherent of the keto diet is going to stumble on that fundamental aspect, the brick red roux, that forms the foundation of the stew in terms of flavor and thickening. Don't worry, I've got some tricks up my sleeve to whip up a pot of this Cajun and Creole classic at only 10 grams total carbohydrate per serving. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is take care of the meat that we're going to be using. So right here, I am slicing up some andouille sausage. I'm going to brown this off with some chicken here in a little bit. Now, just get yourself a nice smoked sausage. Andouille is most authentic, but a kielbasa or an American smoked sausage would work as well. I'm going to use chicken thigh here and season it initially with some smoked paprika, Hungarian paprika, some black pepper. I'm using a little bit of new salt and some Applewood smoked salt. I'm just going to dice up this chicken thigh here. I'm using a boneless, skinless chicken thigh for simplicity and to make the whole thing easier to eat and prepare. You could do a bone-on thing, more like an actual Cajun-style gumbo, but here we're just going to dice it up into nice pieces and mix it with our spices and let that sit. Enjoy that dry rub here for a minute while we render out some bacon fat in a Dutch oven as well as a cast iron skillet. Let's get our spices together. We're going to start with some smoked paprika, a bit of black pepper. I also have some Kashmiri chili powder. I'm going to add some oregano, a bit of dried powdered garlic, some desiccated onion, as well as just a nice half teaspoon of thyme. For some heat, we're going to throw in some cayenne pepper, also some celery seed to accentuate the celery we'll add later, some ground sassafras in the form of filet, which is a thickener traditional in Creole cuisine, in particular in gumbo. It's going to help us avoid having so much roux. And then a nice tablespoon of kosher salt. Stir that up, and then we can start frying off our sausage. We're just going to get that nice and brown and begin to form a roux. So this time we are going to do a roux, but we're going to do it with cornstarch. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch in the whole thing. It's going to distribute, I promise, and each individual bowl is not going to be very carby, but it's going to give us an appropriate thickening in combination with the filet and the okra we'll add later. So brown off our sausage, brown off our chicken, and now we can start with the veg. Now, in Cajun and Creole cooking, there's a type of sofrito that they use, which is referred to as the Holy Trinity, which consists of celery here, and also onion and green peppers. So we're just going to dice up this celery, and then we're going to take half an onion because we don't want too many carbs coming from that, and we're just going to dice that up as well. I am not a huge fan of the green capsicum, so I chose a different type of green pepper popular here in the U.S., the poblano, which is a lovely deep green color, a little bit more heat, and a little bit more of a complex flavor than the standard green pepper. So I'm just going to get that diced up as well. And typically, in being so influenced by the Catholic Church, in addition to the Holy Trinity, there's also the Pope, meaning garlic. So we're just going to take quite a few cloves of garlic here, smash them, take the skins off, and give them a really good dice. And get those together while we focus on our okra. So okra is going to be a star here, both in flavor and in terms of thickening. It's a classic in gumbo. A lot of times okra and filet are not seen together, but we're cutting back on that roux, so we're going to have them both to give us a really nice thick texture. This is only about a third of the okra that I actually chopped up, so we're just going to dice it into little rings and then move on to blooming our seasonings and spices in that roux. We're going to throw them in and let some of those oil-soluble flavors come through. Add in that sofrito. I'm also going to add in some stock base here. You could add actual chicken stock if you have it, or even some fish stock if you're feeling frisky. We're going to cook that for about 15 minutes before adding in all of that meat. We're going to throw in some hot sauce to taste, as well as about 4 bay leaves here. Remember to take those out before you serve. And 1 can of diced tomatoes along with 3 cans full of water. We're going to cook that for about an hour. drain off some of that fat, and add in all of that okra. Cook it for about 15 more minutes, and then we're going to throw in about 20 shrimp. You can see the size right there. Tail on for the presentation. Cook that another 15 minutes, and then we're ready to serve. So you can see right there, it's unctuous, it's rich, got a lovely brick color, and now all that's left to do is sample it up, see how it tastes. And I got a nice crisp bottle. Doctor enough. Tie it. Doctor enough. Go with my gumbo. Smells great. I have to admit, of course, I've tasted the broth already to make sure the seasoning was sound. It's right on. My shrimp are tail on, so I'm not gonna be able to eat those with a spoon. Beautiful. Yeah, that's wonderful. The shrimp. Try a little bit of the chicken, the okra. Still a little hot there. Okra's nice though, not overcooked. It got kind of that dull green that you might think would be pretty far, but no, there's a nice crunch to it. That chicken thigh totally just falls apart. Super tender. Oh, it's so savory. The right amount of heat too. I can feel it a little on my lips, and I think with, of course, the main thing missing here from a traditional Louisiana gumbo experience is the rice. And I decided not to go with anything today. You could do, I'm sure, a nice cauliflower rice that would help this and create a bit of a balance here, calm down the heat just a little bit, but as is, really nice and what I wanted, you know, something comforting and savory and warming that just feels like every bite is its own little hug. So here's some of the andouille. Oh yeah, wonderful. That cuts right through it. Perfect.